Minister Idun, so nice to have you in Washington. We just finished a meeting together which is focused on something that is potentially so transformational and so important, which is to address the access gap to energy by Africans. And together we're trying to get to 300 million people by 2030. And we cannot do it without Nigeria because there is a significant number of people in Nigeria that lack access. Can you just talk us through a bit, how do you see this challenge in the context of development of Nigeria? And how do you see this process that we have engaged in together called Mission 300 is going to be helpful?
Well, thank you for having me, Anna. Mission 300 is critical to the development of Africa, of course, the development of Nigeria. To be able to provide energy access, to be able to provide electricity to 300 million Africans it's very time bound, in the next 5, 6 or 7 years, by 2030 anyway, is critical. In Nigeria, we do have about 90 million Nigerians that do not have electricity, don't have access to electricity. The president of the World Bank, Ajay Banga, says electricity is a human right, and I agree with him. There's no development without energy, without electricity. There's no industrialization, there's no modernization. So it is a very, very welcome initiative. In August, the African Caucus, that's the grouping of African finance ministers and central bank governors, wholly supported Mission 300 as something that they would commit to, and 15 already are in the process of signing or developing compacts that will give the roadmap to get into providing electricity for their people under this important initiative.
That's so exciting. Is there anything about Nigeria's compact that you want to share, just as a little glimpse that you think will be a potential game changer? I know you've spent a lot of focus in the last year on reforms. You're trying to level the playing field between public and private. Anything that you feel that compact really will need to address?
Well, I think as part of our overall macroeconomic reforms, we are at the domestic level, we are putting in place policies and a framework and even an environment that will encourage private sector investment. And I think this is key. Already in Nigeria, we do have private sector participation in the electricity sector. We have liberalization of electricity sector, but up to date now, we have not quite got it right. So I think our compact will be pushing us in the direction of market-based solutions in terms of pricing, in terms of investment, in terms of entry and exit into the electricity market that should get us over the edge in terms of putting us in a place where we can provide electricity to the majority of Nigerians. In fact, all Nigerians. That should be our target.
I think that's excellent. I want to turn to another theme that's featuring prominently this week during the annual meetings, which is gender equality. The World Bank is launching a new strategy with ambition behind implementation of this strategy, and a lot of it is focused on giving women economic empowerment through a variety of means, including access to digital solutions, but also a number of other mechanisms. In Nigeria, what is your focus when it comes to gender equality, with a particular focus on women? But I know you also have a big agenda on jobs for young people.
Certainly, and it starts from education, where you get gender equality, where you get a fair deal for women, is educating the girl child. And the World Bank, through its various programs, is helping school-age girls. And that's a very, very important initiative, because it is from there that the education gives the access to jobs. It gives the access to the skills that you need even as an entrepreneur. And we do have specific programs aimed at the young. We have investment in digital and creative economy that specifically sets aside funding for young women entrepreneurs. And it's a recognition. And then we do have, throughout our codes, our governance codes, our business codes, commitment. Even at the political front, we have commitment to having a certain number of women participate. So thereby giving them access in boardrooms, giving them access to the political space. For example, at the presidential level, applying for the form in order to be able to run for president was free for women who decided to put their hat in the ring. And that's just an example of the indication at all levels of society. It is recognized that if you leave out women, if you leave out young girls from having education, from having opportunity, you're trying to fly on one engine when you have two, and you can go so much further and so much faster.
Thank you so much, Minister. And I like your sort of life cycle approach. It starts with education, but then you have to keep having measures to continue to sort of push the envelope. I like that. Final question, IDA. We're in an IDA replenishment year, and we will, in a couple of months, just be gathering for sort of the final pledging session for IDA. IDA has meant so much to so many countries. What has IDA meant for Nigeria, and why are you wishing for a strong replenishment this year?
Well, this replenishment is critical. It's we are talking about a bigger, better bank. We're talking about more concessionary financing for developing countries. And of course, IDA is critical. I got a figure today, I think since inception, about $320 billion has been provided, much more than has been paid in terms of capital than IBRD, than the main bank lending program itself. However, we do wish this to be a record IDA year. The IDA financing is what gives us that extra affordability. It's concessional, it's for a long term, and it's for a relatively low interest rate. And most of our programs at the World Bank or with the World Bank are IDA financed. And it's a function of the level of poverty that we are facing and fighting in the country. So I think that whether it is budget support for the government's macroeconomic reforms, which are critical in helping us stay the course, or whether it is specific funding aimed at the health sector, aimed at the climate adaptation, or even, as we said earlier, aimed at gender issues, IDA is a critical part of the funding of the Nigeria's development effort at this stage. And until we get out of this poverty level that we are in, or until we get to become a middle-income country, IDA will be a critical part of our financing package, and we rely on it enormously, and we value it enormously, and it has made a big difference to Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Minister, for sharing that. It's fantastic to hear firsthand from you what IDA means, and I think you made such a compelling case for continued strong IDA. So thank you so much, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.